How is your mother?
She's doing good. I talked to her yesterday. I was on the road. I didn't get home for Easter, which means I missed out on deviled eggs
Not right.
and everything else. It's not right. But she's doing good. She has a huge garden again that she's working on again with my little brother Mark. They've tried something that they've never tried before, a very un-southern thing. They're trying to grow some broccoli.
Oh.
You know, broccoli doesn't exist in our lexicon. You know, the green beans and squash and tomatoes and corn are a given. Pepper is a given. Collards later in the season is a given. But for some reason, they're trying their hand at broccoli.
Doesn't like that weather.
So they may fail miserably in that. But she's doing good. They have hogs to raise and chickens to try to keep out of the clutches of the foxes around there. And life just doesn't change much, and I think that's the way it ought to be. Change isn't necessarily a good thing.
Let's talk a little bit about the change that's hit the journalism world,
Sure.
especially print. It's like it's been hit by a tsunami, and I'm wondering what do you think is the future of print journalism, and how do you think we're going to get our news? And by that I mean news, not everybody's opinion in a blog or something. And when you consider print journalism often fuels what's on the
Sure.
radio and in the TV.
It becomes the foundation for what else is out there. I don't know. I'm not an expert, obviously, on the business of journalism. The craft of writing, I understand. I understand that. But I think that I'm sure that there are some experts out there who are just saying, see, we told you so. We all knew that grim times were ahead. But I think what surprises everyone, from the people that are still in it to people looking on the outside. I try to read 3 newspapers every day.
What do you read?
I read, if I'm at home, I read the Jacksonville, Alabama News, the Anniston, Alabama Star, and the Birmingham, Alabama News, or the Journal-Constitution out of Atlanta. When I'm in Tuscaloosa, where I teach at the University of Alabama, I read the Birmingham News and Tuscaloosa News pretty much, fairly faithfully. And then whatever big paper, floats along. But I start with the sports page. Well, I'll start with the front page and make sure there's nothing there that I need to, devour immediately. Then I'm pretty loyal to the sports page. Then go back to the front page, then to the Metro page, then to the feature page to see if there's a long story that I want to see. I'm not much on entertainment. Hollywood mystifies me. But I think what surprised everyone was, after saying over and over again, bad times are coming, bad times are coming, bad times are coming, we thought that incremental downturn would continue to be incremental. And instead, it's just like a battleship let loose on the industry. And I have friends, many friends, who are taking those forced sabbaticals where you take a couple of weeks off without pay. I don't think we saw that coming, and it breaks your heart, I think.
And the loss of the institutional knowledge too.
Well, I mean,
forced retirements on some people.
Forced retirements, and you see it particularly since we're here, for a book event. Book critics are just being shown the door, which is just wrong. Some of the best, most respected critics in the country, in the Deep South, the Journal-Constitution let go its critic. Others are kind of keeping an eye on the clock and the door.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, to me, that's an important part of a paper.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, other places too. You use the word institutional knowledge. I mean, that is, you take a 60-year-old reporter or editor who knows their town, really knows their town. One of my best friends in my life was an editor at the Birmingham News named Randy Henderson. He was an assistant managing editor, but basically he ran the coverage of the city. And just a beloved, brilliant, thoughtful man. And he died of cancer about 3 years ago. And when he died, you know, other than the sadness of just his family and all of us losing this great man, was that institutional knowledge being pulled from the newspaper. And I don't want to compare it to a death in the family, but it almost is. What's happening in the industry as a whole reminds me of that, as you just see people pulled from, and I'm not talking about, you know, big cities where you know, mid-sized cities and small towns where these huge gaps are opening up. And I don't see how we improve. I don't see how we even retain a society without a strong print media. And I don't care if I'm a dinosaur. I like being a dinosaur.
What do you, speaking of books, what do you read for pleasure?
Well, I read mostly novels.
Mm-hmm.
I read a lot of nonfiction when I was a younger man.
Mm-hmm.
And still read 30% maybe, one out of every three books is probably nonfiction. And it can be everything from the Imperial Japanese Navy to, you know, to the Alamo. Mm-hmm. But mostly novels. And I'm selfish in my old age about the novels I read. I want something that tastes good, and I don't care if it's good for me. You know, I love a great mystery. I love you know, dark humor. Mm-hmm.
What are some things you like that you've read lately?
Well, you know, I'm reading James Lee Burke right now, and Carl Hyacin as usual. Those are two guys who, you know, you go to the bookstore and on the off chance that the new book is out. Reading, I read Sherlock Holmes, reread it and reread it and reread it and reread it because I just love the deductive part of it. And I just read The Red-Headed League sitting in my office the other day when I should have been working. And been reading an awful lot of historical stuff about textile mills and cotton mills because I've been writing about them so much lately. A historian in Alabama named Wayne Flint, who is he's one of the most respected historians in his field, wrote a great book called Poor But Proud about the working poor of the people of Alabama. Things like that.
You said you've been writing a lot lately about workers in textile mills. Are you working on some?
We've got a collection of essays that will come out. The essay should be out in fall. Oh. About, it's just 9 little stories about people who gave their lives to those machines and that culture. And it'll break your heart. It's grim and it's sad.